Hello, this is Lamont Carey, episode 4. We even came up with a name for our little walks. Me, Gangster, Bianca, Miss B, and we decided to call this little journey Walk and Talk with Lamont Carey. I forgot to put and Gangster. But then I realized that gangster may not always be with me. I'm just about sure of it that gangster won't always be with me. So I'm learning something about doing this video thing. But anyway, Happy New Year. I'm glad that you made it. I'm glad that I made it. And they say the new year is full of promise, full of opportunity, full of adventure. But I wonder, something I've been learning probably in the most recent years that I didn't even ever consider, about forgiveness. And I was just wondering, do you, Tanya, do you practice forgiveness? And not just the forgiveness, Monroe, what's happening? Not just the forgiveness of other people, but the forgiveness of yourself. I didn't even know that I had to forgive me. I didn't even know that forgiving myself would help me to remove barriers. And as a guy that works in communities all over the place, all over the country, and there's always this need for mentors. And I had this conversation with this one dude. So Tanya, how easy is it to you to forgive? Or do you just forgive others, or you forgive yourself? And why? Why does that happen? So I had this conversation with this guy and why he didn't want a mentor. So let me give you full disclosure. Lamont Carey didn't like mentoring. Lamont Carey still don't like to be called a mentor, but I seem to do it all the time. So Tanya said to forgive, to forget, to move on. You know, I know we say that, but how easy is it to do? Huh, Tanya? And so the guy was telling me that, what is he gonna teach a kid when all he has made was mistakes throughout his life? And that made me reflect on whatever my reasons are why I didn't like the title of mentor. And I think my reason was because I didn't want to be responsible, be to blame if a young person's life didn't work out in the way that they wanted to work out. And I also realized, or was fearful, especially when I had my son, because I used to do this poem called I Love My Son. And the Love My Son is about a father's love for his son that was just born into the world. And when my son was born, you have to hear the poem to understand why it struck so much fear in me. But I stopped doing the poem. And so one of the fears that I had when my son was born was I didn't want him to initially know anything about my past life, because I wasn't sure if I would be glorifying it. And sometimes I know kids mimic the people that they love. And so I ain't wanted my son to end up like fighting, think guns was cool, think hustling was cool, think it was no problem going in the penitentiary. So in all honesty, I was terrified, and the only way, hey Nisi, and the only way that I could try to ensure that I don't accidentally glorify or teach him the bad habits that I used to have, is everything that me and him did together was totally new. Things that I had never experienced in my life. The only thing that I experienced with him that I loved or enjoyed from my past life was roller skating. But I say all this to say is that I had never looked at myself and forgave myself for the mistakes that I made, and not to make have those mistakes define who I was. I didn't think that I was thinking like that, but inside I was. So when I'm talking about forgiveness today, I'm asking you, do you not only forgive others, but do you forgive yourself? And exactly, does that help you? Does that remove barriers in order for you to move on? Tanya said it's not easy at all. Then Tanya came back again and said, but you have to be stronger to move forward for you, because you will use your past and it will hold you back for the things you need to do now. I like that. But can you give me an example of how it holds you back from doing the things that you need to do now? So now, since I've been learning about forgiving others and forgiving myself, but let me tell you what I was taught from the street life. So the street life and what I'm still learning and working with these kids now. Hey Tawanda, Happy New Year. What I'm still learning and what I used to live by when I was in the street life is that you don't forgive nobody. You wait for the opportunity to seek revenge for the harm that they done to you, or you cut them off for life. Because if somebody hurt you, you don't give them a second chance to hurt you again. And so that became my motto, because that was the customs for living by the laws of the street. Hey Nisi said it's not easy, but we gotta forgive and let go. So, but Nisi, how do we actually forgive, and how do we actually sincerely let go? Because it wasn't easy for me when I even started trying to forgive and to let go, because what I had been taught and lived by most of my life made forgiveness extremely hard. And today, these young people, at least the young people that I work with in communities that are involved in the street life, or young people that I work with in institutions, they don't believe in forgiveness. Like squashing something, ending the beef, ending the feud is not in their vocabulary. Their vocabulary is beef until somebody dies. And I even had this conversation with a young man that I care about recently. Squashing the beef, ending the feud is not in their vocabulary. And so that means to them that you have to kill in order to squash the beef. And so I'm working on teaching them how to be forgiving and how to truly forgive others. But I always need tips, because their reply to squashing the beef or forgiving somebody, saying, man, that's me becoming a sucker, or that's me lowering my guards, and then they come back and they do something for me after I forgive them. Asia, how are you, superstar actress? So we talking about forgiveness. So Tanya said you just give an example. Example like what, Tanya? And Nisi said you have to understand, if you hold on to things, it continues to hurt you letting go heals you. So how do you actually let go? Is it something that you got to do to program your mind to let go? Because traumatic experiences, don't they resurface? Don't things trigger them? Or when you see the person that caused you harm, don't that remind you of what they did? And if so, how do you move past that? Asia said being able to forgive takes skill and time. Some people see it as being weak. So, like, what skills do you need to in order to be able to forgive somebody, Asia? Like, help me, and help others. How do what skills so I can try to get on top of that? And are you actively using those skills? And how long have you used those skills? Some people, Asia said, some people see it as, oh, she said that being weak. Patience. Yeah, patience. I like patience. I like patience. So does the same skill that you need to require, because patience is not easy. I'm still learning to be patient. So how do I learn to teach patience? Asia said ability to empathize and understand why they did what they do. So that a part of, like, Asia? Is that part of, like, the saying that people say, don't judge me until you walk in my shoes? And Nisi says prayer worked for me, but the young people don't have the heart to pray. Hey, Ms. Hendren, how are you? Happy New Year. We talking about forgiveness, forgiving yourself and forgiving others. Tawana said, God has been my reference and his examples of love. So, Tawanda, I hear you. And Nisi was saying that the young people don't have the heart to pray. So how do you teach God love for forgiveness when the young people may not even be participating in religion? And I'm not no scholar of religion. I went to church last night, but I'm not no regular at church. So how do I teach God's forgiveness? Tanya said, if someone hurts you, you have to ask them for forgiveness to forgive yourself and to move on in life. Asia said, exactly. By understanding how people think doesn't make their negative behaviors, Asia said, it doesn't excuse their bad behavior, but at least you can understand. Okay, so okay, so patience is one of the tools that y'all saying that is required to forgive others. Asking them for forgiveness is required to move on, and having the heart of God is another tool to be able to forgive and move on. Asia said it. Okay, so those are great stuff. One of the things that I found recently, like, Patricia, hey, love. We talking about forgiveness, forgiving yourself and forgiving others. Happy holidays to you, love. So one of the things that I found that recently made it me able to forgive is, hey, Asia, how do I do that? Approve. So that helped me learn to forgive. So my father used to be abusive dude to my mother, and
Okay.
so I was about to tell him, my father used to be abusive to my mother, right? And it kind of shaped how I approach the world and how I deal with the world. Like I never wanted to be perceived this weak, right? And so uh, anything that threatened, I guess, what I consider my manhood, I fought, I tried to destroy over and everything. And so that probably ushered me into the prison system. But recently, I went to my father's grave site and forgave him. And I forgave me for harboring all of that anger that I had towards him. And what was crazy is that when I was leaving the cemetery, this huge weight lifted off my shoulders. And so that,
How were you able to forgive him?
huh?
What did you do within yourself? Like, how were you able to just forgive him that like that?
How I was able to forgive him because I had finally recognized that my thoughts of him, my memories of him kept me stagnated. And so I was looking to be released, one, from this anger that I continually walked around with, and going to the grave site, which I had never done in my life. And my father been dead since I was like 10. And
Mm-hmm.
so just going to the grave site made him real because I really don't have memories of him except for the violence that I saw. And so it was like a reintroduction to him, if that makes sense. But let me say what Patricia said, good morning and great topic. Tawanda said, I'm not either, but you have to start somewhere, and not forgiving hurts. And Nisi said, you're on a journey that will take a long time. These young people will only change if someone like you continue to invest in them. Patricia said, wow, powerful. Thank you, ladies. So, Asia, you have something to add? I mean, because
So I was
that
trying
was
to just be clear on my text were getting all misconstrued and screwed up. But what I was saying was when you're trying to forgive someone, when I said it takes skill, because it's hard to just if someone hurts you, like you were saying, if someone hurts you, you want to just you hurt people. I guess that's the saying. So you want to hurt
right,
them back. But what I feel now and just growing within myself is learning that when people do stuff, not all the time do they necessarily know that they're doing something that's going to hurt you. Sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't. And so when you have to, for me, I have to understand why you did what you did because perhaps you really didn't do it maliciously. And for me, that's how
right,
I'm able to forgive. It doesn't make it
right,
right. So it doesn't excuse the bad behavior, but it helps me understand that you really just legitimately didn't do it on purpose.
right. So, like right now, Gangster have carried me onto this field. While I'm talking to y'all, Gangster has led me onto this field that's full of mud. And I know Gangster wasn't doing it maliciously, but he sure was doing it. So,
Funny, I'm in what looks like the same field actually.
oh wow, the walk.
That's crazy. Mhm.
Nisi said, "Forgiveness is healing." How does forgiveness heals, Nisi? And Shanika, how are you? She said, "That's deep." What are you talking about, Shanika? So we can be on the same page. So, Asia. So, so how do you determine if it was malicious uh, when you felt hurt by somebody, and how do you figure out if it was really their intent to hurt you, or it was just something that you was dealing with and you took the wrong way? Because I'm assuming we take things the wrong way and we get hurt over stuff when that, like she said, that wasn't a person's intent. So how do we find out? Uh, how do we get that question answered? Kevin Lee, how you doing, champ? So Nisi said, where are the men this morning? More men need to step up and show how they have learned and changed. The men probably still sleep, Nisi. Uh, but I do know that there are a lot of men that are engaged in taking back to communities, empowering young people, but they don't always be seen by the larger community, and they don't always get credit. Like a lot of times people say that like black men leave and don't take care of their children. And I tell those people that you have never stood outside of a school early in the morning or at a bus stop and see these men, young men, teenagers, taking their kids to school before they go on with the rest of their life. So I think men participate way more than we give them credit for. But this morning, I don't know where they at. But Nisi, they'll come around. This is a new thing that I've been doing, so they may not be hip to it yet. So Tawanda said it's always growing and maturing to do what's healthy to you. Tell me more about that. And Asia said, because once you ask them and find out why, and yes, misunderstandings happen. Hey, Kevin Lee, what's up with you, champ? Patricia said, healthy communication is important. Then Asia came back. Marion, hey, love. Happy New Year. Then Asia said, the only way to know someone's intent is to ask them. Tanya said, so true. Marion, good morning. So, well ladies, so you're saying the only way to know somebody's intent is to ask them, right? So a secret about me, when I first came home from prison, in prison, I started separating myself, getting more into me and then repairing me. And another reason I started separating myself was to avoid conflict. So when I came home, I had this whole idea to avoid conflict because I only knew how to handle or deal with conflict in a violent way. And so how can somebody that think like me could approach somebody to find out how to fix, or if there was a misunderstanding? Because a lot of times we say, man, you hurt me, I'm done with them. And they don't even know that we done with them. We just cut them off. Just like I see all these posts on social media talk about cutting people off, moving on into your new life without your baggage. And so those seem like, at times seem like a lot of people that were hurt. So are there times when we gotta just cut somebody all the way off? So Marianne, so Asia said, I love that, Patricia, communication is key. So how do we, Patricia, how do we get to healthy communication, and what is healthy communication? Patricia said, Rachel, hey Rachel. Patricia said, we walk away too soon, but there is always a route to the walking away. Can you explain, Lotus? Happy New Year to you. Nisi said, once you forgive yourself, it has no power over you anymore. It takes time to heal, but it's necessary to grow. So how do we learn, Nisi, to even forgive ourselves, that we have to forgive ourselves, or that we can forgive ourselves? Because in all honesty, I didn't even know anything about forgiving myself. So how do we help individuals, Patricia, learn healthy communication? What is that? What does that look like? And Nisi, how do we help people to learn or to understand that you have to forgive yourself, and what are the properties of forgiving yourself? So Patricia says, sometimes we need to go back home and sit on the sofa to deal with some stuff. Patricia, what you mean by that? We need to go back home and sit on the couch and deal with some stuff. Lotus, you have a point. To me though, forget all the apologies. Show me changed behavior. So how do we get to that place where there's changed behavior? How do we get there? Hey, Betty, Happy New Year. Twan, what's up, champ? Superstar, movie star. Shanika said, talking more. I used to shut down for weeks. So Shanika, how did you recognize or figure out that you had to talk more? And if you were so used to shutting down, how did you build yourself or open yourself up to communicate more? Because if you shut down for weeks, it was a choice not to engage, right? So what did you learn that made you change that perspective? And talking more, what actually did that do? So Patricia said we have stuff that started from our family origin that we bring into this big world. Okay. So does that mean that we had issues with our parents, that we need to sit down and discuss that with them? And what if our parents have moved on to this new life? Is there a way that we still can deal with that stuff? Patricia, Nisi said, by stop being in bondage. It's hard, but we need to know that it's okay to say, I'm sorry and I forgive you. Hey, Tuan. So, okay, say I'm sorry and I forgive you, right? So let's say, Nisi, that we have improved, right? We recognize that asking for forgiveness from the person that we harmed will help us, and we hope that it helps them. But what if you go and try to forgive somebody and they be like, man, I ain't trying to hear that. You did that. That's where we at. That's where we gonna stay at. I ain't messing with you no more. So what happens then when our forgiveness isn't welcome? Patricia said, yes, we can still deal with our stuff, but we need to make sure it is in a safe space. What do you mean by safe space? I mean, I know what the term means, but I don't know if everybody that's tuned in with us know what safe space means. So if you just joining us, we talking about forgiveness. Forgiveness of others and forgiving other people. And so I want to know, what tools do you use or what steps do you take to forgive others and to forgive yourself? And do you truly let go? And what does letting go really look like? And what happens if the person that you harmed don't want your forgiveness? They just want you gone. Does that keep you vulnerable and stuck in that space, or are you still able to move on? Patricia said forgiveness is not for them. It is for you, and it does not always mean reconciliation. Asia said, if you made all the necessary efforts to apologize and they don't accept it, except you move on. So Patricia, if I harmed you, right? And I come to you and I say, Patricia, I did A, B, and C. I'm sorry. I was wrong, and I'm asking you to forgive me. So that is strictly for me and not for you. You're not expected to get any relief out of it. I thought that forgiveness, well, I'm wondering if forgiveness means I forgive you in order to remove from me being stagnated, but also to give you some peace. So that's not correct. So Tanya said, but sometimes they won't feel the same, but you feel better as a person, but you know you tried to forgive and you should move on. So again, ladies, if I forgive you and you don't have it in your heart to forgive me, I understand that I still move on. But so I free me, and then I guess you saying that the person have to come to their own place of forgiveness, that they will recognize that I forgave them, and they have to move past it later on. Keena, I'm probably butchering the name, but Happy New Year. Welcome. We appreciate you being here. Patricia said, I could have already forgiven you. Rachel said, learn to renew your mind. Learn to be true to yourself. Love yourself and forgive yourself. Go to others and ask for forgiveness. We learn that living life is a lesson to grow and learn from. So you move forward to live your life to the fullest. Okay. But again, but if the person, if so, the one thing I like about you women is that you all are at an amazing space in your life, right? You are have evolved, you have grown, you have learned lessons. But what about the women and the men who hasn't reached your level of understanding and peace, that don't know that forgiveness allows them to move on, don't have the tools to do those things? So Miriam said, once you say you are sorry, I forgive you. You should not go back and do the same things you were doing before you said you were sorry. So another question, right? It's Shannon. Hey Shannon, Happy New Year. Velda. Another question is, when I'm seeking your forgiveness, do I have to like say exactly the words I'm sorry? Because you know sometimes, right? And I've been guilty of this. I might say, Shawty, my fault. Shawty, we good. Right? I may say everything under the sun of not saying I'm sorry. So does that mean to you that my sorry isn't sincere? Marion said, Lamont, you are correct. However, a lot of times people will say they forgive just to end the conversation, and they don't really mean it. Oh yeah, I've done that one. I've done that. Like, you right, you right, you right, you right. But all the time I'm really saying, man, get the fuck out of my face. So you right, I get it, I get that. So how do you know when they really accept your apology then? Patricia said, are you seeking my forgiveness or are you seeking reconciliation? What should I be seeking? If I'm asking you to forgive me, oh, I get it. Oh, I get it. I get it. So, that's a great response, Patricia. Wow, I got to think on that one. Lotus said, my approach is to always respect and acknowledge the human being. I have little energy and time. I have little energy and time for more misery, as life and circumstances have that under control, whether by action, inaction, procrastination, or happenstance. As we are one, I say, if there is conflict, let us mend. If we are, if hold up, if we are lying bare all our ills, do so with the intent to arrive at a loving condition. If we are moving on and carry on, let the destination be a loving condition. All right, I like that. That was real deep. You notice you always. Tanya said, but that is definitely good stuff. Tanya said, that's why we need more people like us to help the ones that need help to forgive. Lotus said, we are wasting precious time and energy, distracting our minds, spirit, emotions, and risking seeding any offspring with the same habits to forego peace, laughter, joy, pleasure, glee, happiness, fondness, and love for myself and all mankind. And if the world had that same perspective as you, we wouldn't be going through so much hardship. But how in the hell do we get there? We have peer pressure where people go with the norm. We got built-in anger. We got mental health issues. So how do we get people to that place, Lotus? I really would love the answer to that. And Patricia said that is determination. I mean, that is determined on where you want the relationship to go. Asia said, heeding to Southeast. Great discussion as always. I will see if you are still on when I get settled. If not, everyone have a great day. You do the same. Cynthia, hey my love, Happy New Year. Marion said a lot of men can't express themselves to show me. April, the songstress of the universe. Hey, hey. So if you just joining us, we talking about forgiveness, forgiving yourself and forgiving other people, and what are the tools to be able to do that. And we last ended on What if you go to somebody and you say the harm that you've done to them and you ask for forgiveness, and they're not having it. They don't want anything to do with you. And Patricia said, is it about forgiveness or reconciliation? So you have to figure out what it is that you want in return. April, I've been good. Happy New Year to y'all. So now we've talked a lot about trying to forgive other people, but how many of you like really have forgiven yourself? And how hard is it to look in that mirror and say, I have been wronging you and I need to forgive you? Because we are, at least I'm told that I'm harder on myself than I am on other people. So Lotus said, it starts with ourselves, and let our conduct be the demonstration of all kindness and forgiveness. So meditation, April. So how many people, so what I was saying, April, you may not have been on yet, is that a lot of y'all are way advanced than most people. And meditation, how do you even begin to know that meditation? And I know some people that don't do meditation or even consider that because they consider that as part of a different religion than the religion that they are. So, because meditation is a Buddhist practice, right? So how do you get people even understand to be still? Because that's the hardest thing in the world to understand. To be still and find peace within yourself. Because I know when I first started trying to do meditation, it wasn't working for me. So, what does meditation offer, April? Rachel said the most important thing is releasing your heart to forgive because the other person might not be at the same level to forgive. Then you have done your part. The other person might catch up or not, but you're free and just say a blessing prayer over their heart. Tanya said, yes, we tend to be harder on ourselves than our. April said, no, you can be any religion. Yeah, April, one thing I know is that you could be any religion to do meditation, right? But my question to you, all right, well, let's move away from the resistance from some people because it's a Buddhist practice. So my question to you is, how do we even bring people to be still, to sit with themselves? And what is meditation? Can you break down meditation? Because there might be somebody on this feed that is open to trying meditation, but have no clue on what that looks like. April also said, I'm not Christian, but I do know that Jesus sat in meditation. Tanya said, than others. Okay. So if I wanted to meditate, April, what does that look like? And what am I going to get out and how to heal and forgive myself? What are the benefits to meditation? So, ladies and gentlemen, I surely appreciate you coming out here, hanging out with me and Gangster. So, focusing on now. But what does it? So April said focusing on now. So April, do I just sit down? So I just go in the house, sit down, or wherever I am, just sit down and focus on myself. Like, what does that mean? Draw me a picture so I can try it and see if I can meditate today. So if you just joining us, just know that we talking about forgiveness, the forgiveness of ourselves and the forgiveness of others. So how many of you truly forgive yourself. Because I know we're taught that to love, we have to love ourselves before we can love anybody else. There's songs and stuff on that. And then we're told to focus on making our weaknesses strengths. We're told in other formats, like on television, in one commercial, you might be told that drinking gonna free you, where you're able to love yourself and to have fun. Then we'll see an infomercial that tells you that plastic surgery is the way to self-fulfilling. And then you turn on another channel and there's religion saying getting in tune with your higher power helps you love yourself and free yourself. So we have so many examples, or so many platforms that's telling us on how to love and how to free ourselves. But we might be in a community, we might be in a household where we're trying to love ourselves, but the people in the house is telling us that we ain't no good, that we are ugly, that we are worth nothing. So how do you forgive those people, and how do you learn to love yourself? And when you're in a relationship and your partner is telling you that you the worst thing that you have ever, that they have, worst person that they have ever encountered in their life. So how do you forgive people that truly causes you harm? And I ain't talking about people that may have called you out your name, but I'm talking about people that have truly caused you harm and taught you not to love yourself. Michael, what's up, Chan? So April said the easiest way that I started, this is talking about meditation, was with a candle. And I would stare at the light and it would allow me to clear my mind. Call me and I go over some meditation routines with you. And I'm gonna do that because I want to share that on this platform, because you probably one of the most mellow chicks that I know. And if meditation gonna improve my voice so I can get my sing on, then I'm all for it. So, Michael, they were asking where you were. They was asking where the men were, and we talking about forgiveness in the terms of forgiving ourselves and forgiving others. So April said also this one is good, is a good guided one. So check out that video that April put on there. But I ain't gonna take up too much of your time, and I'm gonna try to see you sometime tomorrow morning. So I thank you for hanging out with me. April, what was funny that I'm looking for that singing voice? Ooh. All right, y'all. Later. Me and Gangster. We out.